We've got Vanderbilt women's basketball head coach Shea Ralph here. We will go ahead and jump into questions. We will start with Elena Morris. Elena, go ahead.
Yeah, coach, just your first loss of the season. I know you kind of talk about how you like to learn from winning, but how much can you learn from a game like this?
I think a ton. And I think there's a lot that we can take. It was an incredible environment. Credit to South Carolina because I thought they played really well, maybe the best they played all season. They shot the ball really well. We turned the ball over 16 times, I think, in the first half, which is going to make it hard for us to win a game like that. But there just wasn't an answer today. And for us, there's a lot that we can take from it. I think that we have to take from it, but it also doesn't negate the fact that we've been really good up to this point. Um, but this is why you want to play games like this, on the road in an incredible environment. There's all kinds of things that we can't control that are happening right now, but the most important part to me is how we respond from it. And that's what we're going to focus on.
All right, we will go over to Peter Acabella. Go ahead, Peter.
Hey Shay, this is Pete Yakabelli with the AP. Um, that first segment kind of really seemed like it set your team back on their heels a little bit. Were you surprised they didn't respond to kind of get themselves back in the way they did maybe near the at the break?
No, I
No.
thought they did respond. I think that basketball is a game of runs. And, I was surprised at how bad our defense was, but I don't think that was our defense. I think they were, we just we looked like we were a little bit stunned, and you've got to expect that sometimes in an environment that we played in from kids that have not been in that environment or had to play the minutes that we've had to play. I had hoped that we were more prepared, that we would do things a little bit differently, but we didn't. And that's the game of basketball.
Yeah.
So we could have been down by 40 at halftime, but we weren't. So to circle back to your question, we did respond. We had a
Yeah.
really bad first quarter. They scored 55 points in the first half, but we were only down 11.
Yeah.
And then I think we missed 3 or 4 layups in the beginning of the second half, dead layups, which they got the rebound from and scored. And it felt like that took the wind out of our sails a little bit. So, yeah, I mean, there were things that happened that really stunk. But to me, that doesn't negate the season that we've had, doesn't negate the season that we're going to have. But in order for us to continue to get better, we've got to learn from today and we've got to respond.
Thank you.
Aria Gearson, Tennessean. Go ahead, Aria.
Yeah, what was the biggest issue that led to those 20 turnovers for y'all?
That's a good question. I think there was a little bit of, to me, we usually get to spots quicker. We weren't getting to spots as quickly. So it was discipline. It was, in the beginning of the game for Aubrey, just playing with the ball, instead of beating people. So there was just an element of, this is what we do and this is how we do it, and we weren't doing that. And I'm not sure how to phrase that better, but we just didn't look like ourselves. So what was the issue? We just weren't looking like ourselves. We didn't operate the way that I know my team to operate, which is both unsettling and encouraging, right? Like half the game, I didn't recognize the team that was on the court. But I also understand that, there are these moments in basketball, and I've had plenty of them as a player and as a coach. You guys have seen them, where you get rocked back on your heels a little bit. And everything that we do moving forward has to be in response to what did we learn today? We can't stand around. We can't play with the basketball. We have to play more like who we are. What leads to those turnovers? Not being intentional. Maybe being a little bit stunned. I'm not going to use the word afraid. I don't know that we are afraid, but I think we looked a little bit stunned after the beginning of the game. They punched us right in our chest, and I didn't love our response. But I also know we have won 20 games. We're 20-1. The world is not ending. It's not Armageddon. We're fine. But the way that we respond to this, the things that we learn are going to say everything about our team moving forward because it doesn't get any easier. We play ranked team after ranked team after ranked team, and this is the SEC conference. I would have loved to go undefeated. Did I think we would? You know, but for as crappy as we played today, for a lot of that game, you know, especially in the second quarter and the beginning of the third, we were in it. We can never let the wind go out of our sails. We can never lay down and die. And I think for me, that was what was most disappointing and embarrassing, right? We just didn't play like ourselves. And at points in the game, it looked like we quit. And that just can't be who we are.
All right, we'll go over to Julian at WKRN. Go ahead, Julian.
Hey Shay, you talked about you hoping this team responds from something like this. How big of a learning lesson is this also for a freshman point guard in this environment, and just learning to grow from this moment, knowing she's going to be a big part of what you guys do, particularly in March?
Yeah, it's huge, right? We talked about this as a staff right after the game and in our locker room. This is a really tough environment to prepare for. This is why I beg and plead for people to show up to our games, because we want to have a home environment like South Carolina has for our kids. It's really tough to play in an environment like that. And the only way you prepare for it, I think, is by having one, you know, or continuing to, you know, have experience in playing. And a lot of my kids that played a lot of big minutes today haven't done that in this kind of environment. So I think, you know, number one, sometimes you can't prepare for it. Sometimes you just got to go through it and you learn either way, right? And I hope that we can, as coaches, we can help them avoid or prepare them better for environments like that. And don't listen, I'm looking at myself even more than I'm looking at our players. How do we prepare them better? How do we help them more so that they can execute better in a game like this when a team is firing on all cylinders at home? Absolutely. We've got to figure that out as a coaching staff. And then sometimes I know as a player, you just got to go through it to learn. This was a really hard lesson to learn today. This was not fun. This was not fun today. But I know my team, I know my staff, I know we are just fine. I know we're going to learn a ton, including our freshman point guard, who's never been in the position she was in today, but I guarantee that she'll be better for it.
All right, DC Collinger, we'll go ahead and get over to you.
How's it going, Shay? David Cloninger from the Post-Courier in Charleston, South Carolina. I just had a kind of a big picture question. With the weather being what it is, are you guys staying in Columbia now and then maybe busing to Ole Miss or heading back to Nashville?
So I have not had that conversation yet. I have no idea, but I wouldn't be surprised. That's going to be my next conversation after I get off with you guys. Um, you know, and that's kind of been what it's been the last couple of days. We live early. We didn't know if we were going to play today, if we were going to play later, if we were going to try to play tomorrow, but like we don't control that. We control how we operate minute to minute. I try not to get too high or too low. My guess is we probably won't make it home. I know that was a conversation earlier today, but I don't know yet.
Charles Mays, we'll go ahead, Charles.
Yes, coach. After today's win, I know obviously disappointment, but what did you gather from your team, especially the leaders on this squad, immediately after? Like, how did they take just coming out and I say being shell shocked like they were in South Carolina?
Yeah, I think at the end of the game, when we spoke to them as a team, they understood the things that were exposed today and the ways that we need to get better. They know that. They see um, the ways that we haven't prepared for a moment like this. They understand the things that maybe we didn't know yet. They also know that we're really good, and you know that this doesn't end our season. So I think that's the biggest point right now is, hey, we're good. We learned a lot today. They played really well. I was really proud of Michaela. I thought Michaela played hard the whole game. She was put in some tough positions. They defended her really well. That kid never quit. And I think there's a lot that we can learn from just kind of that mentality. And she's not the only one, but I just point her out because she's my best player, right? And she always does a lot for us. But we need to learn how to operate that way. Michaela's mentality, my mentality, our staff mentality. And for the most part, our team's mentality has to stay the same, whether we're up 20, down 20, on the road, at home. It's just, we talk about these things, and I think sometimes you just have to learn the hard way. You do. And today we did. We learned the hard way some of the things that just get in our way that we haven't been able to fix yet, and we're going to have to in order to continue to have the season we want to have.
All right, Matt McDowell, go ahead.
Hey Shay, how are you? Matt Dowell with Watch Fox in Columbia. You spoke about how they defended Michaela really well. After their loss to Oklahoma, South Carolina was really talking about their defense and how they wanted to improve it. What did you see from them defensively today?
Their activity was good. I think, you know, we still were able, when we did what we were supposed to do, to get shots. So like they were good defensively, but I thought our defense sucked. So it wasn't like, I mean, what did we score? 74. We turned the ball over 20 times, and most of those were our fault. And they scored 100 points. So I would be a better equipped to answer for our defense. Our defense was bad today, awful. And, we can score. We'll be fine. We scored 74 points. We turned the ball over 20 times. Even if we turned it over 10 times and we scored on the other 10 possessions, we would have scored 100 points almost, right? So like, we can't just give people the ball, but we were still able to score. They didn't hold us scoreless. We just couldn't defend them. So you can't do both. You can't give them the ball and then not guard them. That is a recipe for absolute disaster, which happened today. So we've got to do a better job of both. But when you don't do either, it's going to be hard to win, especially against really good teams.
All right, final question. We'll go to Chris Wellbaum. Go ahead, Chris.
Hi, Shay. Chris Wellbaum from Gamecock Central. You said that you didn't recognize your team out there. Do you think that was self-inflicted, or was it due to something that South Carolina was doing?
I mean, I didn't recognize them at points. I think it wasn't the whole game. I think that, they're my team. So at the end of the day, the buck stops with me, right? And I want to make sure that I say that they're my team. And I just know them to be harder fighters than I saw in moments today. And that's okay. We can learn from that. I think it was both self-inflicted and due to some of the things that they did. But I would love to see my team respond better in moments today where they didn't. And I think at the end of it all, that comes back to how we prepare them. So I will say, just to be very clear, there were moments where I was really like, who is this? And then I hearken that back to, we need to prepare them better. There's got to be different ways that we prepare them to be able to handle some of the moments that we had today in a better fashion, to be able to take better care of the ball, get better shots, defend better. That is, part of the lesson that we learned today, both as players and coaches.
All right, Coach, thank you so much for your time. Best of luck on Thursday.
Appreciate you guys. Good to see you all.